Wednesday's episode of Days of Our Lives may not be built around one giant shock, but that may be exactly why it feels so important. This is the kind of Salem episode where the tension does not hit all at once. It builds, quietly, patiently, and by the time the characters realize how much pressure they are under, the damage may already be starting. On April 22, that pressure seems to be coming from every direction. So while Wednesday may look quieter on the surface, this could be one of those episodes that quietly tightens multiple storylines at once. Let's break it all down, because April the 22nd of may end up mattering far more than it first appears. One of Wednesday's more deceptively important scenes may be Marlena pressing Xander, because this is exactly the kind of interaction that can expose a character without needing a major blow-up. Marlena does not usually push unless she senses something is off. That is what gives the scene its built-in tension. When she starts asking harder questions or refusing to accept the easy version of events, it usually means she has picked up on emotional resistance, hidden motives, or a truth somebody is trying to keep sealed off. And Xander is not a man who handles that kind of pressure gracefully. Xander tends to function best when he controls the tone of the room. He likes confidence, leverage, and the feeling that he is one step ahead. So if Marlena begins to close in on whatever he is trying to manage, even subtly, the audience may start seeing a version of him that is less polished and more strained. He may not confess anything outright, but he may not need to. A shift in tone could be enough. A defensive answer that comes too quickly. An irritated reaction that feels bigger than the moment requires. Those are the kinds of details that can tell viewers far more than the dialogue itself. In soap scenes like this, what matters is often not the secret being named out loud, but the fact that someone is clearly rattled by how close another person is getting to it. So while this may not be the loudest scene of the episode, it could still be one of the most effective. Because if Marlena's questions start pressing on the right nerve, Xander's composure may do the rest of the storytelling for her. Wednesday also brings Kristen and Lonie back into each other's orbit, and that reunion may carry a very interesting emotional split. On one level, this should be a comforting scene. There is real history between these two. There is familiarity, trust, and the kind of connection that can instantly make a Salem scene feel more grounded. That alone gives the reunion value. Viewers may want to enjoy the idea of them sharing space again, especially after time apart. But what complicates the moment is Kristen herself. She is not stepping into this scene from a calm emotional place. She is moving through the week with dangerous intentions, unstable energy, and a darker agenda already forming around her. That means even if the reunion begins with warmth, the audience is unlikely to experience it as purely warm. They know too much. They know Kristen is carrying emotional volatility into a scene that, under different circumstances, might have felt safe. That tension between what the scene looks like and what the audience knows is what could make it work so well. Lonie may be reconnecting sincerely. She may be responding to history, loyalty, and affection. But viewers are likely to watch the scene through a second lens, one shaped by suspicion. That creates a stronger kind of soap tension than a simple confrontation would. Instead of asking whether the reunion is emotional, the audience starts asking how stable it really is. Because sometimes the most compelling scenes are not built on open conflict. They are built on imbalance. One character enters with trust, the other enters with secrets, and suddenly every warm moment carries a trace of danger. If Wednesday leans into that contrast, Kristen and Lonie's reunion may end up feeling less like a nostalgic pause and more like a fragile moment that may not stay untouched for long. Kate lying to Roman may sound like a smaller beat compared to some of the episode's other storylines, but emotionally, it could be one of the clearest warning signs on the board. What makes this matter is not just the deception itself. It is the pattern underneath it. Kate has always been a character who knows how to survive pressure. The problem is that her survival instincts often come wrapped in manipulation, selective truth, and the belief that controlling the moment is the same as solving the problem. That is why a lie from Kate is rarely just a lie. It is usually evidence that she is slipping back into habits that feel useful now but tend to create bigger consequences later. And Roman is exactly the wrong person for that kind of deception to land on lightly. This is not just about strategy or buying time. This is about trust inside a close relationship, which immediately raises the stakes. When Kate lies to someone like Roman, the emotional damage does not stay confined to the original secret. The real risk is what happens after the truth surfaces, because then the issue is no longer only what she hid, but why she thought she had to hide it at all. Kate may convince herself she is simply keeping things under control. She may believe she is preventing a bigger mess. But that is often when she is most vulnerable to repeating the same cycle. Protect the present, underestimate the fallout, then deal with the emotional wreckage once it is too late to contain it cleanly. So this storyline may not arrive with fireworks, but it could still be deeply telling. Because in Salem, one of the clearest signals that trouble is building is when a character starts telling familiar lies with just a little too much ease. Wednesday may find its strongest emotional urgency in Johnny and Chanel's storyline, because this is the point where fear may stop feeling distant and start feeling immediate. Up until now, Chanel's health concern has lived in that unsettling gray area where a problem exists, but no one wants to fully give it a name. That is what makes Johnny's reaction so important. The moment he stops waiting, stops hoping it will fade on its own, and starts pushing for real action, the entire tone of the story shifts. Suddenly, this is no longer just anxiety in the background. It becomes something the characters have to face head-on. Johnny's urgency is likely coming from several places at once. There is love in it, obviously. There is also fear, frustration, and the helplessness that comes from seeing someone you care about step into uncertainty when you cannot fix it for them. That mix makes his response compelling, because he is not simply being protective. He is reacting to the unbearable feeling of not knowing. Once Chanel agrees to move forward and get checked out, the emotional atmosphere around them may become noticeably heavier. The issue is no longer something they can push aside for another day. It becomes real in a different way the moment appointments, tests, and waiting enter the picture. Even before any diagnosis, the story starts asking both characters to live inside a new kind of tension, one built not on answers, but on the possibility of what those answers could be. That is where Wednesday's drama may land most effectively. Not in loud panic, but in the quieter emotional changes that happen when a couple realizes their normal rhythm has been interrupted by fear. Even tenderness can feel different in scenes like that. It becomes more fragile, more meaningful, and more loaded with what is left unsaid. So this storyline may end up feeling like the episode's most immediate emotional thread because it touches something deeply human. The moment concern becomes action, and action makes the fear impossible to keep at a safe distance. Tate and Sophia clashing again on Wednesday may sound, at first, like familiar soap conflict. These two already carry tension, and emotional friction between them is not exactly new. But this time, the confrontation may land differently because the larger story around Sophia is already becoming much more dangerous. If this were only about personal disagreement, then the scene could play as another heated exchange between two characters with unresolved anger, frustration, or mistrust. But Sophia is no longer existing in a purely personal storyline. She is too close to something darker now, and that gives every confrontation around her an entirely different kind of instability. Tate may think he is confronting the issue he can see right in front of him. The audience, however, is likely to experience the scene through a second layer of tension. They know there may be something much more serious pressing on Sophia from the background, which means every defensive reaction, every sharp response, and every emotional shift could feel like part of a bigger unraveling rather than just one isolated argument. When viewers know one character is carrying more than the other person realizes, the argument stops being about who is right. Instead, the suspense comes from pressure. How much more can Sophia absorb before something cracks? How close is Tate getting to a truth he does not fully understand? And is this confrontation arriving at exactly the wrong moment, when Sophia is least capable of keeping her emotions under control? Those are the questions that can make the scene feel dangerous even if the surface-level conflict looks familiar. So this storyline may matter not because Tate and Sophia are fighting again, but because the fight may reveal how unstable the ground beneath Sophia really is. And if Wednesday uses that tension well, this argument could feel less like routine drama and more like an early warning that the week's darker material is getting very close to breaking through. So overall, Wednesday, April 22nd looks like an episode built on rising pressure, emotional exposure, and the sense that several stories are moving into more dangerous territory at once. Marlena may push Xander close enough to reveal a crack in his control. Kristen and Lonie's reunion may carry warmth on the surface but unease underneath. Kate may once again protect herself with a lie that could cost her later. Johnny may force Chanel's health fears into the open, making that storyline even more urgent. And Tate's clash with Sophia may feel especially tense because the bigger danger around Sophia is already starting to grow. And that is what makes this episode so compelling. It does not need non-stop chaos to feel important. It just needs a few conversations, a few emotional cracks, and a few choices that may look manageable now, but could soon become much harder to contain. So what do you think will have the biggest impact on Wednesday's episode? Johnny stepping up over Chanel's health, Marlena pressing Xander, or the dark tension building around Sophia? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoy detailed Days of Our Lives spoilers and deep dive analysis, do not forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you do not miss the next update.